Katowice. You are amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship! It's our 9th season of the Intel Extreme Masters, and we've travelled around the world again and seen some spectacular games in Shenzhen, in San Jose, in Toronto, Taipei and Cologne. But it ends right here in Katowice. Over the next 3 days, you're going to witness some of the finest esports players and teams on the planet, and they're going to be doing battle across 4 games and for more than $600,000 in prize money. Those games are Counter-Strike Global Offensive, StarCraft 2, Hearthstone, wait for it, and League of Legends. Now, an event of this size and enormity takes a number of people and a lot of effort to put together, but there is one man that we could not do it without. It is my great honor to introduce to you the Director of Pro Gaming at ESL, Carmack.
So they were making bets whether I would cry or not, and I want to disappoint a lot of people today, backstage. They say it's a cliche that without fans, there is no esports, but this event of all events makes me believe that that phrase is more true than ever. Because without you guys here, without the people online, this hall is an empty shell with some lights in it. There is a certain magic here, a magic you can't really replicate, the kind of magic that gives you, the viewers and the players, a chill on their spine. And this is something really difficult to build, really difficult to make, and I've only succeeded here. It's the people that came here, it's the people that love esports, it's the people that are here cheering the players on. It's the people online watching it on Twitch, commenting online. It's you that made the magic happen. So thank you. It's you that made it a dream for every fan in the world to be here. So thank you. And it is you who made it a dream for every professional gamer in the world to come here and play. So thank you. And it is you who made it a dream for all those gamers to walk down this catwalk and lift the trophy.
It means more than winning. It's a symbol of superiority, an inspiration to every player. The best in the world are here for this, the World Championship Trophy.
Forged in metal and shaped through the ambition and agony of those who have fought for it, the physical manifestation of countless hours dedicated to a single dream.
It cannot be shared, it cannot be split. Every team, every player here has prepared themselves for this moment, but only one will lift the trophy and be engraved into esports history for eternity. This isn't matchmaking, this isn't ladder, this is the World Championship Finals.
To present the official Intel Extreme Masters Trophy, please welcome the 2007 World Champion, Jon Todd Merlo. welcome the players of the 2015 World Championship. The first matches of the Intel Extreme Masters 2015 World Championship are just moments away. But first, let's take a look back at the entire Season 9.
Is the Intel Extreme Masters champion! Final multi from Flash, who is looking to join GG after everything that's gone through in StarCraft 2. Cloud9, that are the champions of the Intel Extreme Masters, San Jose. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for CJ Hero! He's not going to be able to do anything against 4 Gambit players hammering away on the Nexus. They'll take that down, and Gambit Gaming are the champions of the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne. Live and unbelievable recovery in this best of 7. 2-0 deficit to win the game and the Intel Extreme Masters Taipei.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. I'm Evie Shoksupportre, and I'm here at the expert desk for the coming 3 days, and I'm joined by Crumbs, the Physio, and Trevor Quickshot Henry to break everything down that's going on here. And let's start by taking a look at the schedule for the next 3 days to see what we've got coming our way. 3 days packed full of action. Today, we start with the double elimination group stage. Group A and B will find out the first teams to go through from those groups. Then tomorrow, we'll find out the second teams, the final teams to go through from those groups to go into the single elimination playoffs with the best of 3 semifinals. And then, of course, on Sunday, the grand final, best of 5. Things start here in the arena at 1 p.m. with the CSGO and StarCraft finals, and followed immediately by that as the League of Legends grand final, best of 5, to find out who our next champion will be. And well, let's start by diving straight into the teams that are attending here and playing for that cup by taking a look at the groups A and B. Of course, in Group A, and the teams that will be playing first here today, we have C9, GE Tigers, SK Energy, Flash Wolves. But I'd like to start by Group B, Gambit Gaming, CJ Entis, Team Solo Mid, and Team WE. If in Group A we have a clear favorite in the GE Tigers, that is not the case in Group B, although you could say that CJ Entis is a front runner. What are your opinions on the underdogs there and the go-getters?
I think Group B has the most stylistic clashes of matchups. You have a very aggressive Gambit versus a more methodical CJ, as well as having World Elite not finding their stride in the LPL against TSM, who has been struggling but has a clear-cut idea as to how they want to play the game.
Yeah, I think we just have a lot of wildcards, honestly, in this group here. Team WE got 2 replacements coming into this tournament, currently the bottom team in the LPL as well. Not really sure what to expect from them, and yeah, you mentioned Gambit. They are fantastic when it's working for them. Their team fighting style is beautiful to watch, but you never really know how Gambit is going to perform. So when they face CG Entis, to me, that's where Gambit can surprise them and suddenly potentially take #1 in that group.
Yeah, it's important to note that it's best of 1 double elim group. So if these stylistic differences catch anybody off guard, catch anybody by surprise, the big questions we have: how will Gambit perform? How will TSM perform? What's WE going to do as substitutes? There are so many things that we don't know. And in a best of one, you don't have time to make mistakes. So whoever comes into, gets out the gate cleaner is in with a good shot to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, you mentioned it that it'll be very important not to drop a game, but that'll be very hard for the teams in Group A. As said, C9, GE Tigers, SK, and Joey Flash Wolves. We said it already. GE Tigers, absolute favorite coming into this one, and that'll be our first match versus C9. Let's talk a little bit about SK and the Joey Flash Wolves as well, because we've heard good things about the Joey Flash Wolves in terms of preparation from them.
Well, we got to sit down and speak to every team in Group A, and they're feeling very confident. They want to prove themselves as being a good team from the Taiwanese region, and they have a lot to prove here against one of the reigning champions, reigning teams in the European LCS right now.
It'll be interesting to see how SK performs, because Fox and Forgiven are untested on the international stage, but Freddie, Sven, and Rated have got a wealth of experience. I don't know what to expect from Fox. I think Forgiven's going to step up. I think this is a guy who is just so dedicated and so talented that the lights, the sounds, the crowd's not going to put him off. But I don't feel 100% confident in Fox, so he'll have to prove me wrong later in the day.
I think, SK will be favorites for the game. Of course, at least in my opinion, Yo Flash Wolves coming from Taiwan. We haven't seen too much from them still at Worlds, AHQ, and TPA. Didn't make it out of groups. Same can be said for Europe, though, so I guess in that case it's even. But SK Gaming will be the favorites coming in. I do, however, think that Yo Flash Wolves have the tools to fight against SK Gaming as long as they've scouted that early game aggression they're going to bring onto the table here. If they get surprised, they will lose instantly, because we've seen SK Gaming do that to EU teams time and time again.
Yeah, well, that'll be our second match of the day, but first we're going to start by taking a look at the bracket to also see our first game of the day, the GE Tigers versus Cloud9, followed by SK Gaming versus Joey Flash Wolves.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about in terms of the group stage. 4 teams, double ELEM. We will find out one of the teams that'll qualify for the playoffs later today, and we'll also find out which team is eliminated. So lose 2, you're out, win 2, and you're in. And I think it's so difficult because of the fact that all of these teams can watch their opponents in all of their respective leagues. So who can pull off something surprising in 1 week's training, 1 week's scrim, or who can fix their obvious flaws is what the story of this group is going to be.
Yeah, the only thing is we're on 5.4 now here, the patch, which is fairly new for some of the teams. over in China, they've been playing on 5.2 for a while, so they haven't played competitively on 5.4 before this weekend now for World Elite. So they could have practiced some new things coming in. We know Cassidy and Vega is no longer really going to be an option, so there will be some changes. I don't think it's going to be enough, though, to catch anyone really off guard.
I think the interesting thing about this group is that everybody seems to be aiming for second place and kind of assuming that the Tigers are going to take first place really uncontested. And it's a team that's spoken and been outspoken the fact that they don't think they're going to drop a single game in this tournament. So everybody's going for that second place, and it's going to be a close call.
It will, for sure.
And we'll see actually immediately here, Cloud9 is up against the GE Tigers. Let's start by taking a look at the starting lineup for Cloud9, the way we know it has been for a very, very long time. We have, of course, Balls, Meteos, High, Sneaky, and Lemon Nation, the winners of the Intel Extreme Masters San Jose. And in a sense, that everyone's saying that the GE Tigers are the favorites, they could take this in stride and say, well, if we do manage to win, fantastic, but we don't necessarily need to, and maybe look ahead.
Yeah, that's the thing. Nobody really expects Cloud9 to do anything against the GE Tigers, so even in case they do lose, you look again at SK Gaming, you look at Yo Flash Wolves, which should be an easier game, and that's where you can try and qualify to the semifinal.
Easier versus SK?
Okay. SK and GE Tigers, I'll give it to GE Tigers.
you're European.
But I believe in SK Gaming. I think they're going to make it out of this group here. But for Cloud9, it's kind of weird looking at the last few games they've been playing, because it's been a bit up and down. The best play, honestly, for me has been High in the mid lane, and that's normally different when Cloud9 goes to an international event, because then Balls has been one of the big carries. He's not really been performing too well. We feel like he has some champion pull issues potentially. And honestly, if everything relies now on High, and of course Sneaky, we know he will always perform, that's easy for GE Tigers to shut down in terms of the pick and ban phase. Zed, goodbye.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
basically a problem.
Now, personally, I'm really looking at the Balls-Smeb matchup, in which I think that Balls' champion pool has been very limited towards the Maokai and the Rumble. So if GE Tigers is to hit him where it hurts, strike Balls, and really force him into a weaker champion that is harder to execute in a team fight, I think they're going to have a lot of success against Cloud9.
Well, you mentioned Smeb, so let's take a look at the lineup for the GE Tigers on the other side. That fantastic roster. Smeb, of course, in the top lane. Then we have Lee, we have Kuro, we have Prey, and Gorilla. Looking very scary there, ready to get into that game. And as said, undefeated in Korea, lost 2 games, no sets yet, 20-2, showing more and more diversity in the last couple of games as well, so looking very strong.
It's interesting, right? Because you look at this team, I think uncontested, the #1 favorite for the entire tournament. Performance-wise, they're great. The reason it's interesting to me, they're not as dominant, I feel, as some of the previous Korean teams that have traveled internationally and played. Yes, they are still performing really well, but as we've seen in the most recent weeks, Lee on Rengar is the only weak point, which I know you guys are going to talk a little bit about. But I just feel when you look at the GE Tigers, they are very smart, they're very intelligent, they play well, you know, from behind. They've got no obvious flaws that people can take advantage of. So I would not want to be in Charlie and Jack's shoes trying to figure out how their team plays against these guys.
No, it really is the problem. I mean, they have massive champion pools on the side of GE Tigers. They have carries in every single role as well. I mean, Gorilla at Worlds last year for Najin, he was honestly the best support in my opinion, except for maybe Mata. And that was it. He didn't make it obviously to the final himself. He wanted to do it this year for sure with GE Tigers. The lineup they put together here, I don't know who you want to target. I don't know who you want to try and shut down. I feel like, again, yes, you mentioned Lee. He could be the one. But suddenly Lee Sin now here in 5.4. He's back up as one of the top junglers. And that's one of his main picks. So it's not like really you're going to ban him out either. I want to see what Cloud9 can do here. But I feel like GE Tigers will be better in every single role.
I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I feel like there is not a single aspect that Cloud9 has an edge up on the GE Tigers, and I think that they're just going to have to stick to what has been useful for them throughout their entire career, which has been the shot calling and the rotational game. But unfortunately, the Tigers are also seem to be stronger at that. But you know, you got to give it a shot.
It's the best out of one. I mean, a good pick and ban phase, a crazy start to the game. Maybe you can go for the surprise. I mean, we can never count Cloud9 out. They're a smart team.
Yes, I actually agree with you. I think Cloud9 is one of the very few Western teams that you can actually look at their entire history and say, when this team has performed internationally, they've traditionally done a lot of things well. Yes, they haven't necessarily got results to back that up, but they prep well, they play relatively well, they make decisions that are correct. So I feel of all the teams that maybe could do something, also they've been in Poland since Sunday. They left straight after NALCS. They have been boot camping. They've had a few more games on the local time zone. So we'll need to see if they have any extra prep.
Yeah, it's just a little bit sad though when you talk to Cloud9 at breakfast at the hotel and you're like, oh, you guys, you ready playing GE Tigers? How are you feeling? We don't feel too well. We're expecting to lose quite heavily. And that's a shame because you got to go in here and just take it, you know, as an experience. You're playing in front of a fantastic crowd in a big venue against GE Tigers. I mean, you got nothing to lose, honestly, in this game for Cloud9.
Yeah, and things to learn as the rest of the season progresses as well. So we're calling it for GE Tigers quite convincingly. The fans at home have actually also voted, and it is quite close. Actually, the vote 42% for Cloud9, 58% for the GE Tigers. So they definitely have their army of fans behind them. I also heard some cheers here. So we'll see what they can come up with. So the consensus is maybe a very aggressive pick and ban style, maybe trying something new, catch them off guard is the only thing.
Well, before we get to pick and bans, just an update. GE Tigers will be on the blue side. They won the coin toss in the best of one, which is putting Cloud9 into that reactive red side. I don't know if that's going to be great for Cloud9, but there's a lot of possibilities that have now been opened up.
Yeah, I feel like that's not what Cloud9 wanted. We were looking at the pick and ban phase, and if they were on blue side, we were like, okay, Lulu, Gianna, take those two away, because GE Tigers is all about these kite compositions, and then Victor in the mid lane for Coral, because you're not used to playing against that kind of Victor here. Now you got to ban Rek'Sai as well against Lee, meaning you're going to leave one of these kite champions or the Victor open, and that's not in favor of Cloud9.
Yeah, we'll see in picks and bans in just a minute. For now, though, we're going to meet the players on stage with Chobra. Take it away.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, my name is William Cho, and I will be your host here at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship right here in Katowice for the next 3 days. We have some kickin' League of Legends matches waiting for us. So the important question is, are you ready? Then let's kick it off with the opening match, Game 1 of Group A. The first team, the undefeated Titans coming from Korea, the newly formed Band of Brothers. It's going to be the GE Tigers! their challengers, a staple name from North America, and the winners of the Intel Extreme Masters San Jose. None other than Cloud9! Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get into the game and kick off the entire tournament this weekend. So let's get right to the preparations for picks and bans back at the expert desk.
Thank you so much, Trobra. Looking good up there, and so do the team. So let's talk picks and bans, guys. You already briefly mentioned jungle bans, and maybe putting Lee on something he's less comfortable on could be a Rengar, and then maybe Meteor's hard farming doing his thing, but his lanes can't fall too far behind, so that might be tricky as well.
I mean, if you look at must bans here, yes, jungle could be the option as you mentioned here, but Lulu needs to be taken away from GE Tigers. They're way too good at playing these kite comps, and Lulu is so important in it. I want to say Victor as well, and now Rek'Sai coming in as the one jungle ban, because Rek'Sai again is a champion that fits this global pressure style you can bring, and that's too hard to play against. He, or she is, honestly, let's say he there. She will be the #1 jungler here, and we don't see any Nidalee being picked by Lee or anything, or CJ Ensis as well, like the Korean teams don't really play it too much. So Rek'Sai is the #1 that has to be banned away, and then it's going to be a battle of Rumble and obviously the Corki here, who can pick it up, because we know Prey loves to play Corki.
I think an unfortunate thing about the coin toss and the fact that the GE Tigers got blue side means that they can drop up to 3 bans to target out one player and first pick whatever other remaining champion from the role that they want to target out. So let's say they want to drop 3 bans on the top lane and first pick a top laner. You've already gutted 4 champions from the pool, denting the Cloud9 strategy.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier how Balls not been looking too good, especially not on a big amount of champions. It's been about like Maokai and Rumble for him. Ban away that Maokai, potentially first pick a Rumble, or just ban both of them, because Smeb has a massive champion pool, and that could be a big, big problem there for Cloud9, because there's not that many key picks you gotta take away.
Yeah, and as we see there, of course, the stat line from Balls. He loves that Maokai. By the way, you can get a lot of info about this tournament and features on the scoreesports.com. A lot of stat lines as well. Go check that out. Balls for you is something you've been talking about so much in terms of priority for C9.
And I think you have to look a little bit beyond that because of the stylistic matchup between the GE Tigers and Cloud9, in the sense that Lee and Smeb have amazing synergy and many times will just win games flat out from the laning phase, from being able to just snowball off the lane, particularly with the Hecarim, with the Ignite Summoner spell, basically guaranteeing that you win any 2v2. So I'm curious to see if Cloud9 is going to be prepared for such a high level of Hecarim that we have not seen yet in the NALCS.
Yeah, and we focus so much on sort of the junglers and the top laners discussion-wise. I think Hai has got so much pressure on his shoulders. He's traditionally been the guy that leads the way for his team. He carries more from a strategic and from a mental standpoint than necessarily from a mechanical standpoint as far as many other mid laners. But this is a dude, as Deficia, you alluded to at the beginning of the show, he's actually outperforming some of the bigger stars, so to speak, on the team, like the Sneaky, like Balls. So what is Hai going to do if he doesn't get his hands on Zed, if he doesn't get his hands on his most impactful champion? We're about to jump into picks and bans with GE Tigers on the blue side. And as we were touching on it, Zed is instantly taken off the table, so Hai's not going to get his hands.
No reason not to ban Zed. By far the best champion for behind this mid lane. I want to see if Cloud9 now will take a Corki in the first rotation on their side. We know Sneaky loves to play it, and we know obviously Prey. He's been picking like 9 times, 100% win rate. He's probably the best Corki player in the world itself. So I would pick that away if I was Cloud9, depending on the bans, but I'm expecting a Lulu come in as the last ban now for Cloud9.
Absolutely loving the vibe ban here by the GE Tigers, recognizing that Cloud9 should more than likely go with a hard engaged comp against him, get rid of the Vi, and now all of a sudden, Cloud9 forced to take perhaps a Sejuani if they're going to go for a team fighting.
Not allowing the Corki first rotation. Lulu is left open. Can be a pick now for Balls, but Maokai as well, so they've basically ignored him. He can get whatever he wants in this top lane, so that was a big talking point. Are they going to target him out? Seems not instead. You see the Rek'Sai ban, or you expect the Rek'Sai ban to come in. You take the 2 next junglers in terms of Meteors, his tier list. Now it's going to be about Jarvan, Lee Sin suddenly, potentially a ringer for Lee, but it's been his worst champion in that jungle, so I'm not expecting it.
So where do Cloud9 go? Do they want to try to deny
Rumble Jarvan.
that Lulu? Is it just going to be a Rumble traditionally? Traditionally, Champion Balls has done well on, but Crumbs, you're not 100% sold on Balls' performance over the last few weeks.
I think right here, though, excluding Balls, I want to touch upon the Corki pick because that opens you up to have a really strong double AD composition. Corki is the AD carry that you want for your bottom lane because he brings poke, because he brings the magic damage. So now all of a sudden, Cloud9 has to think, are they willing to run a double AD composition? Is Ezreal going to be a pick for them?
Almost. You got 50%.
Oh my
Morgana
God,
locked in. Again, another elimination special.
It is, and a pick, honestly, that GE Tigers have banned quite a lot in Korea, but there's some Morgana top lane players, obviously, where they target ban it. So good pick for elimination. We got the Rumble here for Ball, so he's feeling obviously very comfortable in that lane. Jarvan can come in now, especially since Lee Sin has been picked away, and you got a very strong team fight already just by having Rumble and Jarvan together, and you get good comfort picks for you. About, again, this double AD composition, Koro normally does not prefer to run Ezreal that often. It's more about LeBlanc, it's about Victor. LeBlanc is open in this game here if he wants to take it later on, and there's going to be no counter pick because Castellan is going on 5-4 and 4, and Zed obviously was already banned away by GE Tigers.
Crumbs, I want to touch on the fact that GE Tigers have basically insta-locked Lee Sin and Lissandra. You were highlighting we were going to see Lee. Cloud9, are they a little rattled considering the difference?
Right off the bat, you have to look at the synergy between the picks as well as the top lane players. Now, Lee and Lissandra will pretty much guaranteed win any 2v2 against somebody else. Huge burst from Lee Sin, huge lockdown from Lissandra, and now all of a sudden Cloud9 forced to take a Jarvan, which is a nerf champion on this patch. No armor on his flag, and his early game is going to be weaker than Lee Sin.
Agree. It's a risk, but Jarvan is still a fantastic team fighter, and when you combine him again with this Rumble, we know Cloud9 can play that style. The problem is, if you look at their lanes at the moment and their setup, you mentioned how they're going to lose the 2v2 fights for sure. That suddenly forces you into a lane swap, and that we have seen a lot of teams use Graves. You swap him, you fast push a tower, you get an early BS sword, and then you go down and fight the Corki 2 and 2 before he gets Trinity Force. I think that's going to be the go-to tactic for Cloud9. They gotta go for that lane swap here. Rumble as well needs a lot less gold to be efficient compared to Alessandra. So lane swap coming in from Cloud9, honestly. Kennen mid lane against LeBlanc. That's a tricky one. It's a skill matchup. If you die like once early, Kennen is done. He's out. I mean, LeBlanc is just going to kill him over and over.
No surprises, though. We expected the Kennen from high in the mid lane. Now, looking at the compositions, you have Cloud9 with a massive AoE composition, and a worrying factor for the GE Tigers is the fact that they have no tanks. Now, they have shown incredible prowess in team fighting with kite compositions that do not have tanks, but the Cloud9 team comp will kill anybody pretty much instantly with the knockups from Jarvan, long-range Rumble ultimate, Kennen, and the Graves follow-up.
Yeah, we will see in game. We'll be back with the first game here at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship and our casters right after this.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship here in Katowice. My name is Joe Miller, and joining me today for our first games are none other than Doa and Monte Cristo. You guys at home were, looking for this TriCast for a while, so we thought, what? Why not? Let's do it. First question of the day, though: can Cloud9 beat the GE Tigers?
Anything is theoretically possible, but in the realistic universe in which we reside currently, it's a very low chance. I'd give it about 5% probably. Taking a look at this draft right off the bat, I mean, if we look at the GE Tigers so far, undefeated 9-0 on Corki, undefeated on LeBlanc, undefeated on Lee Sin, undefeated this season on Nami. The one thing that's throwing me off a little bit is the Lissandra pick. Not a normal GE Tigers grab, but with some nerfs, it does make a little sense to other champions in the pool.
True enough. Well, looks like it's time to get into our first game, GE Tigers versus Cloud9. And there they are, Cloud9 from North America on the right, the GE Tigers from Seoul, South Korea on the left. And we are ready to get it on here in our first game in the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice.
Gonna be an absolutely fantastic opener here. I think especially if you're a GE Tigers fan, I want to touch on the Kennen pick because that was the controversial one. We were saying, in the last pick, you can't really pick Kennen here, but they went for it anyway.
Well, how are you going to get Kennen in onto Nami? How are you going to catch anyone like Corki or LeBlanc? I just don't see this Kennen doing anything in team fights.
Yeah, it's going to be really ridiculous. Also very flash reliant in this composition. And it's difficult because the thing about the Korean teams that are here, CJ and GE, they just happen to be probably the two best teams at kiting in Korea, and that's how they play the game right now. And all-inning with Kennen is a very risky pick.
And we may have a bit of cheesiness going on from Cloud9 in the river. Lurking in the brush is everybody but High, basically. Kennen, already afraid to go in. I can't blame him.
Yeah, interesting. Most Korean teams will just fan at level 1. We rarely see elaborate level 1s these days. Gorilla is just not going to catch that.
Well, he's waiting. He's spamming that control thread, I believe. Oh, and there he is. Elimination. Can they get him with some CC? They already get the flash. He's going to try the Aqua Pistol, but that's first blood for Cloud9 Bulls. The cheese pays off. And that is an early kill for North America.
I mean, Gorilla was just spamming his emotes in the brush, not exactly paying attention. So early kill, that'll help Balls out a lot. Of course, Balls an excellent Rumble player, very consistent out of that top lane, and that's going to be very helpful for C9, at least in this laning phase.
And this is what we heard earlier, maybe the key is that it is best of one here and that you can do something a little bit crazy to start things off. Elimination there. Going a little bit far through the brush. Nice little dodge from Prey. And, well, they've got the start that they wanted here, Cloud9. My question now is, though, what do they do with this first blood on Balls? How much can he dominate Smeb in that top lane? Will he dominate? Is Lee going to spend more time now helping Smeb to get back into this matchup?
I mean, it's a possibility. Lee normally doesn't focus on the mid lane. He's a very defensive, Kuro that is a very defensive laner. So we see some trading happening in the bottom side. But it's going to be hard to get out of this because Balls is such a strong Rumble player. He will hit a mid-game power spike where they are going to dominate the Dragon. I think G is going to have to give up probably some of the first few objectives at this point in the game.
We'll see if I'll get Meteos deciding he doesn't have an opportunity. I gotta say, I'm really glad we're getting into cast with Joe Monty. I feel like we're really living the high life. It's Miller time now.
That's right. Truly the champagne of casters.
You're so kind. The champagne.
The champagne of casters.
That's an interesting title that I've not heard before.
Little American humor for you there, Joe.
We already made a deal that Star Wars has to stay out of it because my knowledge is not that solid there. As Prey and Elimination again, just exchanging a bit of damage. Elimination already getting back up to decent health status. This mid lane was a big question for us. How is High going to perform on Kennen against Kuro playing LeBlanc, who we know and we've seen time and time again, a good start for a LeBlanc player spells disaster.
Well, he's already been getting poked pretty heavily, but that's not terribly surprising. A little bit down on CS. We'll see if that turns around as the lane kind of pushes up. But anytime a lane starts to push up for someone who's not the GE Tigers, you have to worry about Lee coming in and just ruining your day. I'm still waiting for what we talked about a little bit earlier, to see how Lee is going to handle the top lane. Like Monty mentioned, Lee is usually up in the top lane more than anywhere else. But I think the real thing we're waiting for is to see when Balls gets that probably early haunting, guys. We'll see how much help Smeb needs at this point. Right now, he's gotten a little CS lead for himself.
Yeah, that is a nice advantage. And just looking at C9's composition overall, they really do well with this backline assassination. They can instantly get in with Equalizer and with that collateral damage. So there is a lot of threats. And Expert Desk was mentioning how it's very dangerous to play these kite compositions because you have to be so precise. Smeb dodges a skill shot right there. And Cloud9, if they get the right flash engages, but it really is the story of this game going to be about playing around Cloud9's flashes.
Yeah.
They have to make those fights really, really count and take objectives off of them because they can only fight once every 5 minutes.
Well, look at this. We are seeing Lee waiting around that mid lane.
Here we go.
To the wall, they managed to get the chains down, and Hai is dead just like that. Meteos had actually come around there, but decided to head southwards in the river. Didn't check that side brush, and that will be the first kill. And meanwhile, down in this bottom lane, Sneaky and Prey going to be going at each other as well. Gorilla also took a bit of damage in that, but no kills in the bottom lane. But the start there in that mid is what we were basically expecting to see.
Yeah. And he got spotted by a ward there, so at least Sneaky Elimination know that he's on his way.
And the real issue, too, with the Kennen in the mid lane is it looks like he's going to have to build into Abyssal first in this matchup. And Kennen is a very item-dependent champion. If he doesn't have that Abyssal in, especially if he doesn't have a Zhonya's Hourglass, he simply can't last out team fights. So if you set that Kennen behind early, he's just going to get blown up without that Zhonya's Hourglass later in the game. And with LeBlanc being a very bursty, high-damage champion, having that Abyssal first this is a really, really rough time just because of how these team fights are going to play out. And maybe they won't now be able to abuse that power spike from Rumble and the fact that they got the first blood.
Well, it's amazing me right now. It's just a CS lead that Kuro's been able to get against Hai already in the mid lane. I mean, he does have that one death, but 43-25 already. That one hurts a little bit. Meteos coming up to the top lane. We'll see if he can get anything done onto Smeb here. Smeb just hit that level 6, so he's got a little bit more safety now, but of course Balls has an equalizer as well. Here he comes, Meteos coming in, there's the equalizer going down, now the QE combo misses, that lets Smeb flash out, gets out on the E as well, and will he survive? Will they dive this one? Meanwhile, Hai dives again in the mid lane, and it looks like Smeb, what? He got the kill on Balls in top, so 2 more for the GE Tigers, I can't believe it. How did Smeb do that?
He baited him with the ultimate. Basically, he held it for a really long time, going in under the turret, and everything just kind of falling apart for C9 already in the laning phase. Kuro's been playing so far back, it's been difficult for Hai to see us safely under the threat coming in. Here's a teleport.
Smeb may have overstayed his welcome here.
This is an interesting choice as well, because Meteos is taking the aggro and he's going to go down. What? He's still alive.
Are you kidding me?
He's now underneath the tower as well. That is just incredible stuff from the GE Tigers in the top lane. And I think Balls might well be in trouble here. There is Lee diving onto him again. Kuro is going to come around. Balls, it's over for you, my friend. Lee will get another one onto a killing spree, and just like that, it's 5-1 to the GE Tigers.
What an MVP play for Lee right there, getting the kick that saves Smeb, sticking around to let Kuro come up and be part of the action as well. This is the teamwork that makes the GE Tigers the #1 team in Korea, and Cloud9, unfortunately for them, is seeing it here in its full potential in Katowice.
Yeah, let's take a look at this play that happened again in the mid lane because we missed out on the start of it. Lee with the pink ward in the brush, Hai walking over, but just gets instantly annihilated. Pretty dangerous to go over on that side of the map when you don't have adequate vision control. And honestly, I mean, I have to say, it looks like Cloud9 is just really desperate to make some of these plays because that is very uncharacteristic forward aggression from Cloud9. It seems like they feel like they have to take some big risks in this game, and it really isn't paying off. Lee was sitting right there with the counter gank.
And the teleport was very odd.
Yeah, like some of the items that have just been finished as well. Smeb, who, he just kind of played it coolly underneath his tower, now got that Abyssal Scepter in already. See, down the middle as well, that Kuro won't be too far away from moving up. Gorilla actually coming up to this mid lane, spotted out by a fairly decent ward there, but was a pink, was taken away. And that mid lane, 71 to 44 CS after High died twice in a row. And this is just free time for Kuro in the mid.
Well, maybe a bit of a dive here in bot lane. We'll see if they go in. Gorilla's getting back.
TP is up for Smeb.
Yeah, he could come down and join in. Gorilla, they see the Dark Binding. They're going to take him out really quick. The exhaust on the Meteos. He takes one extra turret hit. But so far, Prey okay. Meanwhile, Bottles gets jumped on in the top lane. That's an easy kill.
And it's unfortunate for the GE Tigers that Lee is actually getting all these kills. Here's the TP.
And Prey goes in with the Valkyrie, scares Meteos away, and Smeb comes down just to keep his ADC safe.
Oh, they're sandwiched here, though. This could be really bad for Sneaky and Lemon Nation. They chose to run backwards, which is probably not going to help them out all that much. Sneaky will be the focus. Here comes Kuro as well, and Lemon Nation won't be able to escape this one. Smeb will pick that one up. That's 3 for him now, 4 for Lee after the kill up top, and he's just getting out of control.
Yeah, Sneaky and Lemon Nation getting far behind enemy lines, and they really paid for it, unfortunately. Lee scares High away from the recall in mid here, and I gotta say, with a 3K gold lead, sub 10 minutes here, 8 to 2 kills, it is looking pretty one-sided so far.
I'm just really surprised that C9 is repeatedly going past these turrets and trying for these dives, because that's really just not what we typically see from them at all. And the desperation is such a huge factor right now.
I think that's a perfect word for it right now. I think it certainly is just desperation. I mean, they really want to make something happen, but really, I mean, the safer game may have been a better option, but we'll see what happens now. Elimination just warding that dragon. There's been so much action in the lanes that we haven't really seen any team make a motion towards dragon yet.
Yeah, I think the problem is when you make one desperate move and that goes wrong, you have to kind of make a second one to try and pull it back. And so far, those 2 desperate moves have not really worked out for Cloud9. And both junglers currently headed towards the bottom side of the map. And you see the ping there onto the top of Meteos. Lee was spotted coming around as well. And well, it's definitely the GE Tigers who would have the upper hand if they do decide to fight there.
Yeah, it's a pretty risky scenario. Although Prey has not completed his Trinity Force yet, so there is a little bit, I think, extra burst damage coming out of Cloud9 if they want it. They also will have TP up first coming in, but Deep Ward's already going down right here. Lee and Kuro, big wraparound.
And they really want that dragon, too. We'll see if they can handle it. I gotta think Prey's got to be close to finishing his Trinity Force by now.
Should be another few minutes, actually, but he does have 2 assists, so maybe he'll get it maybe around the 14-minute mark instead. So, yeah, only 819 gold in the bank at the moment, so it'll still take some time to complete that phage, and then the rest of the force.
So I'm just taking turret hits. He was desperate for those minions in the top lane, but this, again, you know, does just keep that enormous pressure on that top lane turret and onto balls. That turret's ready to go down any second.
We'll see if he can actually finish that one off. The bottom lane, again, was a bit of an exchange of damage. They saw the Dark Binding coming out of Lemon Nation. There is that turret going super low on the top side of the map. That's just one hit, and that will go down, and we'll see how desperate Smeb really is to finish that one up, keeping that lane push all the way up there. And I don't think Balls will be able to, however much he wants to, hold on to that first turret of the game.
Smeb's got such a massive CS lead as well right now, too. There's really no pressure in Lee going for this dragon by himself. Now, there is a ward there for C9, but will there be any response?
Lee has to get out of here. Yeah, you see him pop right over as soon as people start to move out of lane. He didn't have pressure in mid and bottom. That is a very risky attempt to make. Thought maybe they wouldn't have a ward. They could see the back.
Over the wall, high pot side ultimate, but it will be a kill. Lee managed to get there in time. Meanwhile, Dark Binding onto Prey. He's going to take a little bit of damage. Exhaust onto Sneaky as Prey gets away. And there's that tidal wave use. Can Gorilla and Prey win this 2v2?
Oh, it's going to be tight here as Meteos comes down as well. He drags into the back. He'll finish up Prey. Oh, no! He cancelled the auto attack. Sneaky did get it. But Meteos now battling with Gorilla, who will flash out of the Cataclysm.
Oh, yeah.
I think he needs 2 more auto attacks here. Oh, nice. You know, land the bubble. That's all good as well. They managed to get, again, a 2 for 1. And it's not over because Smeb's here. Sneaky will go down, and now they're going to chase down Lemon Nation, who again is running basically to no man's land, especially now as Kuro's chasing. As we do get a pause, Lemon Nation gets to live on for a little while longer.
He gets to contemplate his impending doom.
It's nice to get a little reflective moment.
It's like usually you get a few moments of your life flash before your eyes, but he's like seeing his life, his team's history, basically, you know, the history of Minnesota, where he's from. He's getting like a lot of time now to experience different things.
Wow, I mean, this game is just a slaughter. There's no really other way to put it.
Unfortunately.
I'm very surprised by Cloud9's overly aggressive play. I really hope that they can settle some of these nerves and move forward in the tournament, because I think they do have a strong chance to get out of this group if they don't continue to make these very, very bold plays.
Well,
they had such a good... They had such a good level 1 where they got that first blood, but they just didn't transition it into anything else and really overplayed their hand with insufficient warding, no knowledge of where Lee was, and pushing too far up in the mid lane.
Well, we seem to have an issue with Lemon Nation's PC. We can see on the bottom right of the screen there. The admin's helping him out.
It's like, can you do anything that makes your champions like go away from my
Faster.
champion?
Can I get
possible,
a speed
guys?
boost here?
Well, I think it is important too to remember, like you mentioned, Monty, that although this game is clearly very one-sided, Cloud9, if you look at Group A, if you look at the other teams, SK, Yoi, Flash Wolves, they still do have a very good chance to get out. I mean, this isn't the end of the road by any stretch for Cloud9 here.
Right. Well, this game, too, a little bit atypical of GE, is actually Lee having so many kills.
Yeah.
Typically, the GE Tigers are very good at getting the kills onto Prey and Kuro. This is one of the very few games that I've seen Lee actually get all these last hits. They really emphasize handing it over. It's been a couple unlucky ticks, but here we go. We're going to be back in the game.
Yeah, looks like we are. Lemon Nation still being chased, and Smeb just picked up that kill. You guys will see in a second. Meanwhile, there we go. Grab the kill.
Catch the last of it.
Spoiler alert.
It was kind of obvious that was going to go the way it did. Meanwhile, Lee said, all right, they're all dead now. Now I can finally go back into the Dragon Pit and just solo that one down myself. 5-0-1 is Lee. He's sound about 1,500 gold to go back and spend here. Bear in mind, we're 13 minutes into this game, guys. He is somewhat fed at this point. We see Morella Nomicon as well as another blasting one there for Kuro in the mid lane. Abyssal not done yet by High, and it's just going from bad to worse, really. Interesting to see now how Cloud9 handle these next few minutes of this game after losing that first dragon and being so far behind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at what High's building right now. He went for the Ruby Crystal, not even having enough money to finish his Abyssal Scepter right here, and so he's delaying that power spike even further. Kennen is probably never going to do anything at all in this game at this point. They have the hard engage with the Jarvan, but there's just not going to be any follow-up. GE has too much mobility. They will be able to kite out of any kind of engage that C9 offers and just poke them to death. Corky's in that power spike right now. 14 minutes with that Trinity Force, and here we go.
Right on the balls, they pop that ultimate. Kuro comes as well. He's been stealing so many kills. Kuro, he just shows up at the last moment to grab it. 2-0-6 now. Feeling good. And they're going to take that top lane as well. So here we are, 14 minutes, nearly 15 into the game, and a 7,000 gold lead for the GE Tigers. Certainly a strong showing early on for them here at the Intel Extreme Masters.
And the reaction here from Cloud9 is High and Meteos to kind of half push the mid lane, which they didn't really even get that much damage onto that outer turret. And to be honest, with the items that Kuro has, he can probably come in there, do a decent amount of damage and keep them off that turret completely. And if anyone else comes around, they may even be in danger. However, they are sending Lemon Nation up. There is Kuro diving in. They're going to take the aggro there. And Kuro may go down here. No, they've actually gone for his clone. He flashes over the wall and somehow survives it. Meteos is low. And Lee is coming around the backside. Will he fancy his chances? He will. He lands the Q. He gets the kill, and Lemon Nation will also go down to Smeb. Kuro surviving through all of it, and now it's High that they're chasing down.
You don't often see a jungler soloing the mid laner, but he's going to try it.
He's the same level as High right now, and there's the kill from Kuro. I mean, there's just really nothing he can do, especially since High is not even built for any armor whatsoever. That Lee with the Warrior enchant just cuts right through him. Sneaky.
And the Brutalizer, and now Sneaky just gets blown up under turret. It is a total rout at this point for Cloud9. I can't believe Kuro got out in the mid lane. 39 hit points he had.
I mean, he did a good job of fooling them with his clone. He just stood in the Cataclysm and the Slicing Maelstrom and danced his clone around until his W came up and he could actually make it out with the flash.
Incredible play. Leaves him now 3-0-6 to 7 kills in the top lane, 6 in the jungle. It's only Prey that's not really been getting many on the board. And, well, now Ball's going to have a chunk back of damage onto Lee, but honestly, Kuro's waiting for cooldowns at this point to finish off Balls. And
no one else
there we go.
support.
Oh, it was close. Chains coming out anyway, and an easy kill, basically, completely out of position. Cloud9, and I mean, obviously, at this stage of it, they're just not in this game. Heads are probably already in. Okay, what do we do later?
Yeah, I think at this point, you just kind of go back to concentrating on the fundamentals, kind of start saying, hey, all right, what happened this game? What do we need to think about for our next one? They do have a little bit of time, before they have their next game here.
Lee's just building damage right now, going for a Hex Drinker as his next item. This is very uncharacteristic of him. Of course, went for the standard Sightstone first, but he's just been all over the map. Smeb has been on point with his teleports so far this game, and there really isn't much to say. Cloud9 is getting played and outplayed in every possible category.
Well, I think one of the really scary things too is, like we mentioned earlier, we don't see Smeb play a lot of Lissandra. Oh, Lee, a little bit of trap set for him. There's a nice dark binding from Lemon Nation. He's going to kick away Sneaky, flash into the Dragon Pit. Not going to make it out there. There's a kill for Sneaky. Meanwhile, in the jungle, Tidal Wave goes through. Balls in a lot of trouble yet again. Kuro claims his 5th kill of the game, and meanwhile, Smeb coming right back with that teleport for another one, going over the wall on a Sneaky. Look at that burst from Lissandra, but it's no surprise. Meanwhile, High popping the ult to try to get away, and Kuro going to be able to grab another one.
Oh, he's going low here, though. We'll see if he can finish off High. Yeah, you can see he's a little bit wary about that. Takes the Shuriken and says, okay, now I definitely can't push this one.
I'm conditioned at this point. Oh, come on, Kuro. Don't make me look bad. Oh.
Sorry, it's High's day to live, Della.
I guess so.
Well, 18 minutes into this game, over a 10,000 gold lead at this point. 21-5 in kills. We were expecting a GE Tigers win.
We were.
I'm not sure we were expecting quite the complete full-on domination, but we were also maybe not expecting Cloud9 to make those risky plays, which makes a scoreline like this possible.
Well, and when you have a good jungler like Lee and he can get those reads and know where the enemy is going to be, also a testament to their early game vision control, you can counter some of these very risky plays.
Well, the cannon pick, was obviously not wise into this composition, and then the very risky plays just countered so perfectly by GE, like you said, largely due to Lee's awareness of where everything is going on the map. It just, you try to get something done fast against a team like GE Tigers, you're unfavored, but sometimes it backfires. Meanwhile, Elimination getting jumped on here.
Yeah, that was interesting. Black shielded away there. And now that turret, though, is taking a good chunk of damage. All 5 from the GE Tigers are there. Sneaky was still on the bottom side. There is the Q. Landing Bulls gets kicked back. He will go down straight away. Did get off an equalizer before he died. Meteos, they're off on the backside as well. They don't really care about them at this point. It's more about finishing off that inhibitor turret, get the inhibitor as well, and now they can turn around and maybe wait those 20 seconds until Baron spawns.
Well, yeah, really. If we look at how that fight went down too, you could see Meteos was trying to get the flank in so they could actually land High slicing Maelstrom effectively. Yeah. Unfortunately for him, Gorilla just turned around. You didn't really see it on your screen, but just used the tidal wave, right, to zone Meteos out, so he never really had an opportunity to engage right there while they were taking out the front line. And a bit sloppy by GE. Using the Lissandra ultimate on a black shielded target, obviously not the best play in the world, but at this point they're so far ahead they just needed to push forward. Meteos has to flash out.
Oh, Q onto High though, a little bit of damage from Kuro. From over the wall, they did hit Prey with that dark binding. Siege begins. It feels like we should be like 35 minutes into this game when you look at it, but we just hit 20 minutes now.
And looking forward to the rest of this tournament, I was very skeptical about Team's ability to play this Kennen into any Korean. It's not a pick that we have seen in Korea at all. And the reason is, it's if you are a well-coordinated team, you can kite it out, and it's very limiting in terms of when you can actually team fight. Now, we've seen the team fight limiters with champions like Gnar, but of course it's nowhere near as long, and even those slight changes to his rage have made him no longer really picked up in any meta at all, and Kennen's a pretty extreme version of that, in my opinion.
Well, it's just so easy to counter that engage. Any sort of knock-up, any sort of hard CC will stop in its tracks. If you don't have flash up, it's kind of the end of it.
Yeah, mobility as well, which, is rather abundant in the GE Tigers team at this stage. You just walk away from it at the end of the day. And with that gold total hitting 41,000 to just the not quite 30,000 of Cloud9. This game is looking to move into its final stages, that's for sure. GE Tigers obviously have the ability to go towards Baron at this point, and I mean, they don't particularly need a Baron, but they'll also be quite happy if Cloud9 even try and contest it and probably ace them.
Well, they can easily turn off this and have a very good fight too. I don't even think Cloud9 can contest this at all.
And looking at this too, I'm a bit surprised that Balls went for the Leandries. With no tank on GE, that's not a very efficient item at all.
Oh boy, Aqua Prison comes in. Wow, Lemon Nation just disappears. Sneaky gets knocked up by that tidal wave. Balls comes in. They do manage to get a couple kills for Cloud9. Baron gets taken by GE, and I think the order of business is disengaged. Balls comes in. Lee and Prey very low. It looks like they'll be able to get out with that Baron buff. So losing 3 people, the best fight for C9 yet. And a little bit of gold.
That was a bit cocky by GE. They could have easily turned on that. If we look at how much mobility they had, it was a split call. GE was half on the Baron, could have easily sent everyone right over that wall alongside the tidal wave. We look coming in here, Kuro will just eliminate Lemon Nation, and there's the tidal wave. Prey valks off the equalizer to finish the Baron. Obviously dangerous to valk over that wall, but pretty poor Baron play right there from GE. It's not really going to be consequential. They still have 2 members with the buff. They still have an inhibitor down. They still have just an absolutely massive lead. And Cloud9, if we look at them as a team, they have been so incredibly successful domestically for so long. And there is no doubt that that Hai is a world-class shot caller. But when it comes to international tournaments, they just can't keep up with individual skill. And regardless of their success at rotations, at those late game plays, they just fall too far behind to do much of anything whatsoever.
I think the biggest thing to me is that as the GE Tigers, you see this cannon pick coming from miles and miles away, and they prepared for it so well. Cloud9 picked it anyway. I mean, what do you really expect?
Yeah, you know, you may have that second plan in mind, so when they have a team that's going to be able to kite Kennen around so much, you say, okay, we don't pick Kennen now at this point.
Zed was banned out.
Yeah.
They last picked it on red side, and Hai's champion pool is a major weakness. And also, what really helped, if we go back to the pick and bans, is the fact that the Vi was taken out, because that means that it's less of a hard, Jarvan will be less of a hard engage, especially with the nerfs to his tankiness on this patch. And so, by removing that, it makes it a lot more difficult to follow up on that Kennen ultimate.
Well, that's the thing, is you really need to shut down Meteos as much as possible as well, because he is such that playmaker, and he does, carry Cloud9 through so many wins that by forcing him onto that Jarvan, you kind of hit them with the double whammy, rather.
And look what he's building, too. He has Brutalizer and Last Whisper. He knows that their only chance is to blow somebody up, and here we go.
And there's the ultimate out of Kennen. Guess what? It didn't really do a whole lot. Meteos is going to get in there to do some damage, but they're going to try and chase him down. Prey actually falling low as well. He might actually get picked off here if Balls can land a harpoon, but look at the bubble. Locks up 2 men, and they turn it back around, and they'll come in and absolutely melt them. There's the Zhonya's used by Smed, but Kuro's going to get his cooldowns back in a second, and Lemon Nation trying his best to run away. Will try and even turn around for a kill, but he will be finished off. And that is the ace for the GE Tigers.
And our first ace of Intel Extreme Masters here at the World Championships again, and GE is going to use that ace to take an inhibitor. Probably just going to be able to rotate right over and take all the others if they don't want to end right now. Well, actually, the death timers are so low, I keep forgetting it's like 20-something minutes into this game.
Yeah, they can't close right now, but they will take that mid inhibitor one more time and get out of there. And if we take a look at that fight, too, I mean, I don't blame Meteos for this build. I actually think that it's one of the best possible solutions to this scenario.
Gotta do
because
something.
You have to get one of those kills and hope that you can turn a pick. It's also going to be surprising because GE will not expect that Jarvan to do that much damage. They haven't had very much armor, especially Kuro. And even though he's LeBlanc, if you can get one cycle of cooldowns off on him fast enough, you can really chunk him out of that fight right there. You saw Prey respond instantly, flashing over the wall, kind of into the equalizer, a bit questionable, but he did manage to kite Hai out in the end of that little engagement.
Very true. Another blue buff going on to Kuro. It looks like Sneak will be able to grab the red. Lee walks right into that one. Kicks Lemon Nation away, still taking a lot of damage. He's in big trouble now, no flash. And Lee just getting a bit cocky there.
I definitely shouldn't be walking into that side of the jungle.
Like Kachani, is that you?
Yeah, that's, I think GE, Not putting in 100% in this game anymore. That will drag things out, however, of course. 5v4 for a Dragon that's coming up. Pretty massive mistake there by Lee. Really unnecessary to go after an enemy red buff under these circumstances.
Party in the Speed Shrine.
Yeah, problem is that Cloud9 are stuck defending their base at this point in time, so actually that Dragon will just be finished off by Prey and Smeb, and that will be going the way of the GE Tigers. So far, well, so good. It's possibly an understatement in this one, if I'm honest.
Well, all the base turrets are down except for the Nexus one too. So yeah, so far so good. 27 minutes with 2 inhibitors down and 1 unprotected. Yeah, it's pretty good for GE. I'm sure they're quite happy with how things are working out right now. And we may be in for one of the shortest games I think I've seen in Season 5.
Yeah, High also just opting to go for the Haunting Guys right here. They just want as much possible burst damage. They're not looking for these prolonged team fights. This is a complete reaction to the fact that they are this far behind. And C9 is smart. This is a really good adaptation considering the circumstances.
Kuro comes in, takes about a little over half of Meteos' health off, and that's going to help push him away to possibly take this final inhibitor. Looks like Smeb's going to dodge that Dark Binding, and yeah, it doesn't look like there's much C9 can do. I feel like they're obligated to come in and try something, but no. Just watching that inhibitor goes down, not having Helios there hurts so much, and RGE ready to close here.
Looks like they may be going for, they will start to move in, and they've got super minions, a couple already bashing away on that turret as Meteos again is going to try and get in there. High will also ulti in, but the first kill will come onto Meteos, and now the GE Tigers going to look to turn this one around, and look at the damage coming in from Smeb, from Kuro, and one by one they're going to fall like dominoes here. Lemon Nation trying to get away. Kuro will move in, actually gets hit by the binding, but Smeb will be the follow-up for them. Kuro again for what feels like the 10th time this game, walking away with hardly any health left. The Nexus turrets go down. The Nexus will follow here, and the GE Tigers are going to pick up the first game of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship in just a second. There we go.
Hey, goodbye, High. There's Ace. There's the game. GG. GE Tigers. What a statement for their first game, huh?
The question here is who's going to stop that? And one thing you can't do against the GE Tigers is try these all-in compositions. They are too good at kiting. This is how they play League of Legends. And atypically, they actually started out with that big lead due to the over-aggression of Cloud9. Usually we see GE play a very passive early game and then really kick in around the 15-20 minute mark when they hit these Corki power spikes. This does send them to 10-0 so far this year on that Corki pickup. It's a champion that is extremely dangerous. It's not because Prey is very good at it, but it's not because he's good at it. It's because they play around it as a team and they push and contest objectives so well with that Trinity Force.
Well, fantastic opening win here for the GE Tigers. We're going to head over to Shox and the guys on the analyst desk to break down that win.
Thank you very much, guys. Well, convincing victory by the GE Tigers is not giving them enough praise. But talking about Cloud9, we said their draft was actually quite good. They had that good idea in the first blood coming up. But after that, not taking anything away from the GE Tigers, but C9 offered them everything on a silver platter.
I think that Cloud9 just failed to realize the draft that they had made and got cocky because of the first blood. They should have recognized you have a losing matchup in the top lane. Lissandra will constantly pushing the Rumble. LeBlanc will beat your Cannon, and the Nami Corki is going to eventually beat out the Morgana Graves. We saw it. Even though they were down that flash, they were down that early kill, they still eventually lost out the bottom lane. And we saw the Lee focus on the solo lanes by ganking for Kuro, and then eventually ganking for Smeb, and just completely shutting out Cloud9, which was playing very disappointing performance, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like, so level 1, great tactic. You have Morgana, you go for that one bind, and Gorilla was sleeping a little bit, I think it's fair to say, in the bush, so he got caught out. I don't blame them too much for taking the standard lanes after, because what you saw happen was once Gorilla had no flash, and we saw the early gang coming in from the Jarvan, Gorilla and Prey fell very far behind in CS because of that lack of flash. But that was okay, you got a CS lead in the bottom lane now. Top lane, you got a Ruby, Crystal now and Rumble, so your 2-and-2 fighting is a lot stronger now because you got that early HP, which means you technically have a fairly even lane there as well. The problem comes when I feel like it's a mindset thing here for Cloud9. Them saying, oh, we can't win. We have to make some crazy plays and maybe snowball early game. And that's why you suddenly see the Jarvan go top lane or Meteos go top lane, dive onto Lissandra, who hits level 6 during the gank, kills obviously the Rumble, and then everything just snowballs from there. that didn't happen. Didn't have to happen. They could have just gone top lane, gone for the first game, forced the flash, back away, keep playing standard lanes.
I actually agree with that, and I think when you look at them diving, it was very uncharacteristic mistakes.
Yeah.
Cloud9, even though they were playing super aggressive, they were missing skill shots, they were missing plays that traditionally they don't miss. And you can completely ignore the fact that Hai fell so far behind in that middle lane as well.
I'm going to let you finish in a bit, but for now, though, we're going to talk to one of the members of the GE Tigers because Lee is on stage with Chobra.
Thank you very much, Shox. Here we are with Lee, the jungler of the GE Tigers after their very first win here at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. So first of all, of course, congratulations on kicking it off with a victory. Just how does it feel to kick it off with a win in that very first game?
저희 처음 경기를 이제 뭐 축하드리고요. 처음 경기부터 이렇게 승리로 시작을 하셔서 기분이 어떠세요?
기분이 솔직히 아직은 이렇게 큰 대회 처음 해보는 거기 때문에 잘 실감이 안 나는데 기분은 참 좋은 것 같아요.
So we feel great, but it's a little surreal because it's our first time at such a big stage and at a global stage really as a team. So it's a little bit surreal, but we're getting used to it, and it definitely feels good to start with a win. Now I think a lot of us, it's our first time seeing them compete against global teams, of course, and the pick ban phase is very important. Kuro has been playing that Victor a lot. Were they expecting a ban themselves?
그럼 이제 픽밴에서 저희 빅토르 밴이 바로 나왔는데 쿠로 선수가 많이 사용은 했지만 그게 북미 팀들도 밴을 할 거라고 예상을 하셨나요?
네, 솔직히 저희 빅토르 성적이 너무 좋았기 때문에 그리고 또 요즘 너무 핫한 챔피언이라서 거의 충분히 예상한 밴이었어요.
I mean, we've been doing so well with Victor and definitely just a hot issue champion right now, so we expected that a ban could easily come out from Cloud9 in our first game. We start the game right away. Gorilla sitting a little bit idly in that brush on the bottom side, and he gives up first blood. I'm really interested if the teammates were kind of making fun of him, a little bit worried after that start.
처음에 이제 고릴라 선수가 저희 바로 퍼블로 죽었는데요. 그때 팀 안에서 분위기는 어땠나요?
저희는 솔직히 퍼블을 자주 당하는 편이기 때문에 그리고 또 항상 게임을 즐기는 편이라서 그냥 웃고 넘어갔어요.
We're actually pretty used to giving up first blood here and there, and we always like to have fun. We want to focus on just having fun with each other as teammates. So we just kind of laughed at him, made fun of him a little bit for giving up first blood, and then we focus on the next part, which is very important because Cloud9 turned it up and started diving left and right, and we had that brilliant backup from Lee himself in that top lane with that Lissandra for Smeb. So I want to know if there was a lot of communication or it's just instincts on Lee's part.
그리고 그다음에 초반에 그 클라우드9이 다이브를 많이 왔는데 초반에 그 탑라인에서 정말 멋지게 마지막 순간에 이 선수가 와서 도와주면서 럼블까지 킬을 잡으셨어요. 그때는 팀 사이에서 뭐 얘기를 많이 하면서 그게 준비가 되었던 상황인지 아니면 딱 상황을 보시면서 직접 그냥 빨리 가야겠다 그런 결정을 내리셨나요?
솔직히 막 예상하고 그러진 않았고요. 상대가 바텀 다이브는 너무 잘했는데 탑 다이브는 그냥 상대 팀이 실수로 인해서 그런 좋은 명장면이 나왔던 것 같아요.
So rather than really expecting it ahead of time or preparing for it, I think really Cloud9 were a little bit too aggressive, allowing me to get a great highlight clip from that game in the top lane. Now, last but not least, Lee usually doesn't take all those kills. We heard that from the casters. I want to know if his teammates were a little bit angry about that in the first game.
보통 때는 리 선수가 킬 양보를 굉장히 잘해주시는데 오늘은 초반에 킬을 많이 가져가셨더라고요. 팀원들 사이에서 조금 그냥 좀 실망을 하거나 그런 얘기가 있었나요?
아니요, 제가 솔직히 킬 먹는 걸 좋아하는 편이고 또 대회에서는 솔직히 주고 싶어서 주는 게 아니거든요. 그래서 그냥 스크림대로 제가 많이 먹었기 때문에 그냥 아무 문제 없었어요.
Alright, Lee says, well, I generally actually like taking kills, and you know, when it comes to tournament play, I don't give it because I want to. They kind of force it out of me, so I was very happy. My teammates couldn't say much, and that was it for the first game. Last but not least for the questions here, they are in the winner's match of Group A. Who do they want to face between SK Gaming and the Yoi Flash Wolves?
그럼 저희 이제 다음 승자 그 매치가 남았는데 거기서는 어떤 상대를 더 만나고 싶으신가요? SK하고 그 여의 플래시볼즈 둘 중에요.
솔직히 저희 대회를 준비하면서 다른 대회는 많이 챙겨보지 못했어요. 그래서 또 서로 전력은 잘 모르지만 서로 1등이기 때문에 누가 오든 상관없을 것 같아요.
Well, we have Lee saying we actually haven't had too much time to catch up on all the matches of other regions because we have so much to prepare for our own tournament back in Korea. But at the very least, all of us are ranked 1 in our regions. I don't think it's going to matter too much. It's going to be a great game coming up in the winner's match. That's it once again. Lee, the jungler for the winning team in match number 1, GE Tigers. Back to the expert desk.
Thank you so much, Chobra and Lee. it doesn't matter too much who they'll be facing, and I think we can agree that in that form. I don't even think that we've seen everything looks crisp, but you can't expect anything else when you're up so many kills so early and when the dives go so wrong for Cloud9.
Any team could have beaten Cloud9 with the mistakes Cloud9 were making, with their dives, with their misplays, the missed skill shots, etc. And I think if you remove that whole Jarvan Rumble top dive fiasco from the equation, yes, Sneaky and Lemon were doing okay in the bottom lane thanks to the first blood and the pressure. But the big question I had is, even if they played standard lanes, you saw how far down High was against Kuro. That Kennen into LeBlanc matchup was down 30-40 CS. Kuro eventually was going to carry. I feel like he could have done that even if Cloud9 hadn't been giving away those kills over and over. But for GE Tigers, it's a good confidence win. They punished the mistakes of Cloud9. And for C9, they've really got to shake things up or go out early at the tournament.
I mean, I feel like that win was really just handed to the Tigers,
sure.
silver platter.
Yeah.
But the most disheartening thing from Cloud9 was the fact that you saw, even from such a large deficit, that their team comp really allows them to pick up kills even in such a large deficit, yet they kept trying to make plays in the early game, which was not necessary. Your strength is gonna come when you group as 5. You have a massive AoE against a team comp that doesn't have a tank, and you just never got to that point.
Yeah, so Cloud9 now, they have to reset. They have a couple of hours and then they'll be playing or the Joey Flash Wolves or SK Gaming in that. Do you feel like if they go back to how they played last week in the NALCS, they could beat either of those teams?
No, because last week in the NALCS they weren't very good. They need to go a lot further back.
Cloud9's main problem, sorry, go ahead first. Make your point.
I was just going to say, Cloud9 have to go, they've got a lot more problems to fix. And if their legitimate strategy to beat GE Tigers was go ham or go home, they're going home.
Yeah, because SK Gaming is going to do what GE Tigers did right here. They can say, okay, thank you. You want to give a kill to a top lane, to a bottom lane, that's great, we take it all. Oh, we're now winning the early game as SK Gaming. The map is ours. We're just going to completely roll over you. Your Flash Wolves as well in LMS have showed a fantastic ability to snowball games. So these two teams, if you make the same mistakes early on, if you make these aggressive dives, miss your combos on like a Jarvan and everything, you will lose those games here. And Cloud9 in the NALCS, they've never really been known as this fantastic early game team. So looking at these two next opponents, I don't see it looking great for Cloud9. I think still it's one game. Clearly they had the wrong mentality or whatever it was in the game itself in the start. So we can't take everything from it, but it's not looking great at the moment.
We will see, of course, for them. We know that they're strategically very strong when they put their mind to it, so maybe they have to take a step back and just take it slow and play out the game in a different way. For now, though, we're going to go over to Chobra as he is standing by with the manager for the Joey Flash Wolves.
Thank you, Shocks. Once again here on stage, Chobra, with another special guest. We have so many people we want to talk to this weekend at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. Right now, it's the manager, Fall Leaf, of the Joey Flash Wolves. And there's one big question. They've wanted to prove themselves so much on a grand stage. How confident are they for their matchup against SK Gaming?
所以你们来到这种世界比赛，想证明自己，你有信心可以打败 SK 吗？
今天的比赛我有信心，我们一定会赢，因为我们为了这个 IEM 的比赛，我们队伍准备了很久，我们的练习时间并不输给韩国的队伍。那我们队伍的队员之间也很团结，甚至就跟 Cloud9 就是一样团结，所以我认为今天这场比赛我们一定会赢。
I have a lot of confidence that we'll win today, actually. We've been doing preparations for a long time, and even in our scrims against the Korean players, we haven't done that bad. So I have a lot of confidence that we'll win the game.
All right, I'm excited to hear that. I hope all you guys are excited for the match coming up. It's going to be the Joey Flash Wolves up against SK Gaming in Group A. We'll be back right after this break.